There was news of a former Canadian soldier, David Lavery, safe in Qatar after release from Afghanistan, Jolie says. This is from the CBC News. Lavery was detained in Afghanistan on Remembrance Day of last year, a source says. So I'm assuming that's Remembrance Day that just passed, not like 2023. I hate when they do that. It's kind of irritating when someone does that, especially around January when you say like, "Oh, I did something last month." Oh, you mean last year? Like it's the same thing. You know what I mean? Just bug off. Um, but that's good news. Former Canadian soldier is safe in Qatar after being released from Afghanistan. So goes on to say, Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Jolie says Canadian Armed Forces veteran David Lavery is safe in Qatar months after a network that supports vets expressed concern that he went missing in Afghanistan and was possibly detained by the Taliban government. In a social media post on Sunday, Jolie said she just spoke with David Lavery upon his safe arrival in Qatar from Afghanistan. He is in good spirits. Jolie also thanked Mohammed bin Abdul Rahman Al Hani, Qatar's foreign affairs minister, for helping facilitate the release of our Canadian citizen. According to a source with knowledge of Lavery's release, the former Canadian soldier was detained in Kabul on November 11, 2024, Remembrance Day. The Canadian government contacted the government of Qatar for assistance securing Lavery's release. Qatari mediators coordinated with senior Canadian officials and used contacts in Afghanistan to dispatch a medical team to assess Lavery's condition and provide care for while also facilitating contact between Lavery and his family, the source said. Finally, the source said Lavery underwent a medical assessment upon his arrival in Doha and is now with his family. In November, the Veterans Transition Network said it was deeply concerned about the well-being of David Lavery, known to those he helped us as Canadian Dave. On Sunday, the network released a statement saying it was relieved and overjoyed to confirm the safe release of Lavery from Taliban detention in Afghanistan. We are mercifully relieved to know that a friend, father, veteran, and Canadian humanitarian is out of harm's way, Oliver Thorne, CEO of the Veterans Transition Network, said in a statement. Our work over the past 3 years is to evacuate Afghan allies who support Canada's mission would not have been possible without Dave's personal commitment and bravery. The statement said that the network and Lavery's family had intentionally released little information over the past 2.5 months with the goal of minimizing media speculation that could have put Dave at greater risk or jeopardized his potential for release. Is that really what that was for? They didn't want to release the information, or is it because they don't want to release information that we're still in Afghanistan? Which begs the question, why are we still in Afghanistan? Like, we pulled out in 2021. We failed horribly. We left a bunch of ammunition in the hands of nefarious terrorists that we funded and helped coordinate. That's why the Taliban are still ruling to this point. So why exactly are we still in harm's way of sending troops over to Afghanistan in a place where we know is overburned by terrorists that are being funded by the United States? Why are we still coordinating with Afghanistan and still have troops over there? Is again, it just are they trying to do it? Are they trying to be silent to protect him, or is it to protect the mission? Because it seems like more they're protecting the mission than would be the safety and security of one of our own. Because nobody really knew about this. I didn't even know about this till now. I didn't know about Canadian Dave. Since before the fall of Afghanistan to the Taliban in 2021, Lavery had been working to provide aid and assistance to the eligible Afghan migrants. Veterans Transition Network noted in November that Lavery repeatedly traveled to Afghanistan for humanitarian work and laid to the wreaths at the Canadian Monument in Kabul on Remembrance Day. So To remind people why the Taliban are still there, even though they fought for 20 plus years. It's been the longest war in my lifetime to ever witness. And we still don't know why we were over there. They released a bit of information in the Afghanistan papers for one day. For one day, they released documentation of why we're purposely in Afghanistan. And then that all went away for one day because they didn't want people to know. They didn't want people to jeopardize the mission and realize that we're over there for the opium, for mineral wealth, to keep the terrorists in power. Because in order to have a war on terror, folks, you have to create terrorism. That's the fundamental point. That's the business side of it. If you're going to capitalize off a war on terror, then by golly, you got to organize together to find some terror. You know, find some disenfranchised people, get them CIA training, give them a bunch of weapons, tell them to go murder some people. Then we create terrorists and fight that creation. It's like the circle of mayhem. It's the circle of sociopathic warmongers. So to remind people, U.S. left behind $7 billion. $7 billion of military equipment in Afghanistan after 2021 withdrawal, Pentagon reports say. So we have troops still in, Canadian troops still in Afghanistan. American troops left. They left billions of dollars of weaponry to the hands of the Taliban, and one of our men were captured. And we're not supposed to know about any of this. We were not supposed to report on any of this because it might jeopardize his fate, according to that report. Is it actually in sincerity of him, or is it sincerity of the mission of why we're in Afghanistan, and they don't want people to reveal that we still have Canadian troops there in lockstep with the Taliban that's being funded by the United States? So approximately $7 billion of military equipment the U.S. transferred to the Afghan government over the course of 16 years was left behind in Afghanistan after the U.S. completed its withdrawal from the country in August, according to a congressional mandate report from the U.S. Department of Defense viewed by CNN. This equipment is now a country that is controlled by the very enemy the United States was trying to drive out over the past 2 decades, the Taliban. And now you just gave them a bunch of weapons. And we were told, because we knew in 2021, when they were fleeing Afghanistan, that they left some sort of ammunition. We were told that was just, it's just a couple of bullets. A couple of bullets, maybe some, C4s. Little stuff here and there. No, it was $7 billion. You don't accidentally leave $7 billion of weapons behind when you're trying to flee the country. Especially a country that is overflown by terrorism. It's almost like they did intentionally to keep the terrorism flowing in Afghanistan, so we have an excuse to have more troops there. That Canada can't pull out of Afghanistan because we got to monitor the Afghan countries and monitor the migrants that are now in a terrorist country. Done all by the military-industrial complex, done by the United States, flourishing the Taliban, flourishing the Mujahideen that create all this. The Defense Department has no plans to return to Afghanistan to retrieve or destroy the equipment, reads the report, which has been provided to Congress. Of course not. Why would they want to destroy the very weapons that we can arm terrorists and then say there's a terrorist outbreak and then go back over there to steal more resources? Why would we do that? That's ruining business. Don't you understand? The U.S. gave a total of $18.6 billion of equipment to the Afghanistan National Defense and Security Forces from 2005 to August 2021, according to the report. Of the total equipment worth $7.12 billion remained in Afghanistan after the U.S. withdrawal was completed on August 30th, 2021. It included aircraft, air-to-ground munitions, military vehicles, weapons, communications equipment, and other materials, according to the DoD reports. You don't do that by accident. You don't just leave a bunch of munition, vehicles, communications, and other materials worth billions of dollars by accident. It's not an oopsie. They didn't intentionally. It's oopsie for us to know about it. They were trying to keep this in the dark for so long. But it's hard to keep it in the dark when people are fleeing Afghanistan. We saw the pictures, and they reported instantly that there was military munition behind in the hands of the Taliban. So now, this guy or this girl, I'm sure it's a guy, but you never know, says, this is from I mean before I am, says this should piss off any American off. Our government continues to send billions of taxpayer dollars to the Taliban following the Afghanistan withdrawal. So we're still sending money over there, by the way. We're sending money to terrorists to then fight those same terrorists. This is the ultimate scheme. This should piss everybody off. This should piss off the entire planet, not just America. Because everybody knows about all these terrorist organizations. They fear for terrorism. They understand how deadly they can be. Well, do you know where they came from? They came from people in Congress. They came from your tax dollars paying to these people to go blow off and kill a bunch of people that then we send our military over there to go kill them. And then they die in vain, killing the creation that we created. That should piss everybody off. Not just America. Everybody. Everybody. You wonder why ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Taliban, all these organizations came to be? It's because of this. It's because this is all a scheme to lavish the business of the military-industrial complex, stuff we were warned about in the 60s that's still happening today. So, this is a congressional hearing from, I think, December of last year, 2024, just a month ago. And still, they're still sending money over there. And here's what they said in Congress. And Antony Blinken is defending it. Antony Blinken is defending we're sending tax dollars and leaving a bunch of weapons to a bunch of terrorists that for years, almost 2 decades, we were fighting against. Listen.
Have you been in Afghanistan since 13 American service members were murdered?
No, I have not.
Have any of your staff visited the U.S. Embassy in Afghanistan since that day?
We've had people in Afghanistan. I do not believe they visited the embassy.
Do you know who is currently residing in our embassy?
The embassy is obviously not under our control. We don't have the ability, not being in Afghanistan, to control it.
Do you have any information on anybody that has spent any time residing in our embassy since our departure?
No doubt if we do, or in any event, the intelligence community does, and I'm happy to share that as appropriate.
Yet, we are still giving the Taliban tens of billions of dollars. There's an American citizen out there literally woke up this morning losing 30% of their paycheck, and a good percentage of that is going to the Taliban or other programs abroad. And this is something that we all need to think about, and we will be thinking about deeply for the next 2 years.
I'd say 30% is an understatement. If people knew, this is why, if you look at other countries, look at like France, when they take your money, when they take money out of your paycheck, when they do the taxes, they show you exactly what percentage goes where. And that's, I think, pretty smart. That's pretty smart of them. They will actually tell you on the paperwork exactly how much money is going where. And I think if Americans had that same system, there would be absolute mayhem. People would be protesting on the streets to know that 60% of the money that they're taking out of your paycheck is going towards creating terrorism. the military-industrial complex. On top of all the other extraordinary gifts we give to Ukraine and Israel to continue those wars. And they're printing more money to send over to the military-industrial complex, which is also why you have inflation. So, it is insane that this still continues on, folks. That people have not fully gotten the picture. And there's people out there who were against the Iraq war defending. Now, they have completely did a complete 180 and are supportive of the Ukraine war, supportive of the of Israel's war, which is not even a war, it's a genocide. They completely did a 180 because it's a Democrat. Well, Iraq was all George Bush and Dick Cheney. We didn't like that, but Obama then turned 2 wars into 7, so that was okay. And then Donald Trump got in office. Oh my God, the wars are bad. And then Joe Biden got in, and then, yeah, wars are okay again. It's okay to kill people as long as it's for the right party. Billions and billions of dollars. And our troops here in Canada are still over there. There's lots of troops still in Afghanistan from other countries because of this. We lose our men and women because of this creation. Because we send money to terrorist groups to help fund them to continue on the terror so that more and more troops lose their lives overseas fighting the creation. This literally should piss everybody off. Piss everybody, not just America for losing their money to pay for this, but everybody. Everybody. Well, they continuously show you and expose you to all this terror threats and fear-monger you, and oh my God, the guys over there with kitchen knives, they're going to come to your house and take over, and oh my God, you know what's the da-da-da-da-da. Well, they fear-monger you with your money. Your money. Paying for it. Anyway, there's more to this.
There's a joke that's made often out there about kids going to college to learn basket weaving and what a joke that would be. But the United States right now is literally sending tens of millions of dollars to the Taliban, 14.9 million to be exact, to teach Afghans how to do carpet weaving.
By the way, I'd be better off with basket weaving. I wish more and more people did basket weaving. Then we just exchange product and, I don't know, people could sell on Etsy. It's better than creating terrorists. It's better than sending money to disenfranchise people overseas to use them and weaponize them for the CIA. And use them as a bunch of patsies for the CIA, installing these terrorist groups that are raining havoc across the Middle East. How we decimated across Syria and Lebanon and Yemen and Libya and Iraq and Iran and all these other places for the military-industrial complex. Just so profiteers of the war-bound, the bloodthirsty maniacs, the sociopaths that make a quick buck off our dead bodies, our dead soldiers, can feel flourished again.
Think about that. We are giving $280 million to the United Nations to do cash transfers for food in Afghanistan. Yet we're not sending an ear of corn from Iowa, a sack of potatoes from Idaho, or a cucumber or an orange from Florida. And that discounts the fact that there's no American tonnage going through our ports to send those things out of here either. It's just cash transfers. Another line item. These are direct.
Just like how all the transfers to Ukraine, you notice how it's all cash transfers. They don't ask for blankets or scarves or mitts or any sort of material good, which, you know, that would make a lot more sense to send over to a war-savage nation. But no, they want cash only. They just want a bunch of money transferred over and wiretapped into the pockets of another maniac to create more wars, to create more devastation, to use and abuse us and profit off our disparity. Like, hearing this and then reading that article is already pissing me off. It's already absolutely pissing me off that one of our Canadian soldiers was kept in captivity by the Taliban that were still sending money by the United States. How is that not pissing off Canada at this point? And it's still going on. Still going on.
Directly from CIGAR reports. $75 million to teach Afghan women to be farmers. I don't believe that we spend $30 million in the United States of America to teach women to be farmers. My colleague, Mr. Wilson, brought up that they can't even dance in the streets or speak to one another or go to school. I'm not sure that we can trust that that $75 million is being used to teach them agriculture. And as you pointed out, we don't have any diplomats on the ground to confirm the validity of these programs.
By the way, all these Middle Eastern countries, all these places that people say are hellbound and just they're a bunch of terrorist towelheads and they don't understand democracy. For one, they were all democratic until we overthrew them, installed dictators. That's how this mess started in the first place. So to say that, Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East is because we overthrew every other democracy in the Middle East. We did. We as the West, we did that. And two, these countries know how to farm. They didn't last this long throughout humanity and form nations without learning a thing or two about agriculture. So this is crap. You know that $30 million is not teaching young girls how to plant crops. It's a money transfer. It's money laundering. Just like how we sent money to Ukraine and they said, oh, we're going to send it over to the Azov Battalion and Zelensky, and they're going to buy a bunch of munitions. That never happened. That never happened. In fact, the munitions that we sent over there, they were selling on Craigslist to make a quick buck. It's all a scam. Everything you know about the military in war conflicts like this, follow the money and you understand it's a scam. Know where these terrorists came from. Know exactly how they're formed. And you'll understand that the Taliban didn't just happen overnight. It's a creation from us. It's a creation from the CIA, from the Defense Department, from the Pentagon, that we send money over there to rain havoc in the Middle East, to then go over to the Middle East and cause warfare and steal resources. That's what we've been doing for decades. Decades. And still to this day, we're funneling money to keep terrorism alive. This should piss everybody off.
Here's one that I was entirely curious about, and maybe you could explain it to me. $3.5 billion transferred to the Afghan fund that is tended to protect the macro financial stability on behalf of the Afghan people. What the hell does that mean?
Exactly. What the hell does that even mean? We're not even protecting the financial stability here. You know how many people are living paycheck to paycheck? You know how many homeless people are happening right now? Do you know how many veterans that went overseas to fight and think they were defending the nation that now have to come home and don't have a job, don't have any resources, and are told to go pound sand? We have no stability here. And yet somehow we were able to fork over millions upon billions of dollars to stabilize Afghanistan. Oh, just like how we're going to stabilize Iraq, just like how we're going to rebuild Ukraine with the hands of BlackRock and Vanguard and State Street and all these nefarious ghouls that never gave a damn about war, never gave a damn about life, never gave a damn about defense. They don't give a damn about sovereignty. None of it matters. All this stuff you hear about humanitarian and we got to defend the people and teach them about it's all bullshit. It is all 100% manufactured bullshit to sell you and propagandize you to comply with more war. And they are doing this under your nose to steal your hard-earned dollars to flourish the needs of terrorists, to keep terrorists going, so we keep more war conflicts going, so that the people, the contractors and the billionaire class can profit off it. And we get death and disparity created by them. And now that you just heard the story about the soldier, our Canadian soldier over there, kept in captivity by the Taliban, that you know the Taliban is created by the United States, this should immediately infuriate you. Why the hell do we still have troops in Afghanistan? If we know it's a terrorist-run hellhole right now, because they are not stopping the slush fund going to them, why do we still have troops over there? Why are we putting our men and women in harm's way at the point that they could be executed to serve the needs of the billionaire class that are already creating the terrorists that are going to eventually take them down? It's sickening. It really is sickening.